In this video, it's part 2 of my granny square tutorial. We've already completed round 1 and round 2 in part 1, so we're now going to make round 3, and this is generally where granny squares stop, at round 3, but if you want, granny squares can technically go on forever and ever, so you can make a bunch of little ones and join them together, or you can continue round by round and make really big granny squares, which make beautiful, beautiful blankets. Okay, so looking at round 3, we're going to start with a slip stitch on our hook and working away from the yarn that we just finished with, so we got a nice fresh start. We're going to do the same thing that we did in round 2. We're going to insert the hook with the working yarn over and wrap that underneath, and yarn over through both stitches on the hook. So that's our first, acts as our first chain stitch. Leaving the tail behind, we're going to chain 2 more stitches, and that will act as our first treble stitch. So same sort of thing, 2 more trebles. Okay. To make a new corner, we chain 1 and just really ease those around to the right. Work 3 trebles. 1, 2. Okay, that's completed our first corner of round 3. It looks very similar, doesn't it? You can see the exact shell sort of pattern happening. Now what do? We need to cross over the bridge, so we've got chain 1. Oh, but what is this? We're at the center of the row, not the corner. So what does that mean? That simply means that you put 1 cluster, so a set of trebles, in there instead of making a corner. You just keep working along. So we working through that nice big chain space from the row below. Okay, now we've got cluster, or a set of 3 trebles in the middle of the row, and we need to jump over this bridge to get to this corner. So to do that, we go chain 1, find the hole there, and work 3 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles. Very big granny square. One more. Okay, so when we ease that out, we've got our new corner, 2 sets of trebles, and we'll work across the row. So we need to find the middle of the row, chain 1, two trebles, crochet does take up a fair bit of yarn, so you always want to make sure that if you have a big project planned, you have enough yarn to get around, because you can see there's a fair bit of work in each stitch. Okay, that's got our middle of the row, and then we'll jump over with a chain one, which I've done, and 3 trebles, 1 chain and 3 trebles. Getting there, we're on the home stretch. Okay. That is 2 trebles. Out, and you can see we've got a nice corner. So we're going to jump the bridge across to the center of the row. Oh, this is where we're going to hide a bit of yarn here, so I'll back up and just make sure we wrap around that. Sneaky little one. I'll show you what I've done there. So that's 1 treble. So you can see that pink one is wrapped in there, and as I do a couple more, that'll just spread out, and then we don't have to darn it, we can just cut it, which, if you're making hundreds of these granny squares, is the kindest thing you can do for yourself. Okay, there's the center of the row. And this will be our last corner that we have to create. So let's chain 1 across. So into that corner of the row below. Three trebles, 1 chain, and 3 trebles. Okay. Please. Back on there. Okay. So we've got our last corner. Beautiful set of 3 trebles, 1 chain, right? 1 chain and 3 trebles. We're going to cross over this bridge here with 1 chain. Okay. 1 chain, 3 trebles. Okay, we're almost there. Now, technically we're crossing over this bridge here, so we chain 1 to finish off. We want to find the 3rd chain stitch in our first set of chain 3s that we created with. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, in through there. So you can see I've got the 2 stitches on my hook. Yarn over through the work, through through the stitch, and then we can snip the yarn, leaving enough tail to darn in. And we're going to finish off by just pulling that tail right through that last stitch and really hugging it at the back. So what we've created there is round 3 of a beautiful granny, chunky granny square. That is a traditional granny square. Now, a few things to note. As I mentioned earlier, this technically could end here. You could create a whole bunch of these squares, maybe having gray as your main color, and then you join them all together. But you could also make round 4, round 5, round 6, and continue on until you've got a square blanket to the size of your wildest dreams. The only thing that changes is simply the fact that you have more of these single sets of clusters, so more sets of these 3 trebles. And what that looks like on the next round is you'd create your corner in here, then you'd cross over this bridge to get to this one, then you'd cross over this bridge to get to this one, and that's how it grows bigger and bigger. The other thing to note is your tension. So if you want like a nice puffy squishy blanket, you must keep your stitches nice and loose, soft, not gaping. There is a little bit too loose, that's a thing. But if you want it to be dense and firm, maybe it's like actually more for a wall hanging, it's not for a soft blanket. You want it dense and firm, you can really tighten up on your stitches and you'll create something much more firm than this puffy, squishy, beautiful granny square blanket. Yay!